Hey, mamas. So today we've got something really fun for you. We have had a few of you write in asking us questions, which we are going to answer. But then Vanessa and I have prepared each other questions for each other that we have not told each other about, just to keep it spicy, to keep it fun. Ness, I'm just going to drive straight into it for you.
All right, straight in.
Life story, life story. Okay, let's start primary school. Favorite moment in primary school?
Being homeschooled.
Oh, were you homeschooled?
Yeah.
Were
I was
you?
We're going to learn so much about each other today.
You were homeschooled? Your mum homeschooled 4 kids.
So I was homeschooled until the age of 9, and I went to primary school after that, and I was shocked at how slow the learning was when I got to school. Because when you're taught one-on-one, basically by a teacher, your mum, you can learn so much and so quickly. And so I was learning maybe for 3 hours in the morning, and I could play all afternoon or go to sport or dance and things like that. So when I got to school, I was shocked at how drawn out everything was. So I became frustrated by that, and I would disrupt people because I finished my work quite quickly. And then I was just quite disruptive all the way through school. I didn't enjoy school very much. Let's not start there.
Can I tell you a story about homeschooling?
Please do.
Okay, so I tried to homeschool Lottie, and she must have
Wow.
been, because we were moving from Australia to Canada, and there was like a window, and it was too long for her not to go to school. So I tried. Like, my kids did not learn quickly because I didn't know how to teach them. So I had to employ a uni student and give her $50 a day to come in and teach my kid because I didn't know. I think we were doing grade 3. True story. She might have been year 2. I don't know. Math's complicated.
Yeah, exactly. It was so much harder back then than maths.
But okay, so in all seriousness, and this is a more serious topic because you and I could joke all day, but I'm going to change gear here, and this is going to unpack a subject that might be quite daunting on our listeners. So I just want to prepare our listeners for this. Ness, at 18, you were pregnant. Let's talk about you being pregnant at 18 and what that looked like for you and your world.
Yeah, that's a deep dive, and it's a very formative part of my story is that I was thrown into parenthood earlier than expected. No one expects to get pregnant at 18 and find themselves in that situation where I was booking a ticket to go to Europe and do my OE, start my overseas experience. But nature had other plans, or Vanessa had other plans, I guess, without it being my plans. And that was interesting. So you're faced for the first time in your life with some very big decisions to make. And, one of those first decisions is, of course, whether to remain pregnant or not. And that's a big choice to be faced with when you're a teenager and there's no one to talk to about that. And for me, I went with my gut instinct and my values, really stuck with my values on that, and decided that even if I wasn't the person to raise this child, I didn't know if I was having a boy or a girl at the time. I didn't know how the future looked. I just had no idea what was going to play out, that this baby deserved life with a great family, even if that wasn't me. And I decided to continue the pregnancy, and my plan was to adopt the baby out to be raised by another family. And as my pregnancy went on, just bumbling along, 18-year-old, not having a clue about anything, not making any future plans at all, really not thinking more than a few days ahead of me. And maybe that was just a burying my head in the sand mentality. That got me through those months. But as the pregnancy went on and I felt more connection to the baby, I started thinking, oh, maybe I could raise the baby. And then my parents actually offered to adopt the baby when it was born. They said, look, you're young and you need to go live life. Obviously, they weren't happy for me. I grew up in a Christian family, and they were quite religious, my parents at the time, and it was a huge disappointment, I guess you could say, that. And I had many people in my world, my parents worked with or employed, and other people at church, come up and tell me what a disappointment I was.
What?
I guess it was amazing. That, look, it's all character shaping. It's all
isn't
character
it?
shaping, but for an 18-year-old to have people come up and basically say, this wasn't what we expected out of you for life, and you've disappointed my expectation in you, is a lot of weight to carry. And that did make me angry for a few years, but I dealt with that eventually. But it's certainly character shaping. Anyway, my daughter was born on the 28th of October, 2004, and once I held her in my arms, there was no way I was letting her go. She was mine. She was
Yeah.
mine forever. And I'm sure any parent can understand this moment, but that was the moment that changed me the most in my life, because I grew up like that. I immediately stepped up and I just wanted to make her so proud. I wanted to give her the best life possible, and I didn't want her life to be limited by the fact that I had her young and that I wasn't in a stable relationship, that I wasn't educated. I was, I just didn't have my life set up, and I was determined to make sure that that didn't inhibit her life in any way. And that was my promise to her. My promise was that she was going to have an amazing life and a successful life, and that I was going to make her proud. And without crying on camera here, but I'm happy to say that she's a beautiful 21-year-old daughter now who's currently holidaying in the Sunshine Coast, living her best life. She just graduated from university with a commerce degree. She secured a fantastic job in real estate, and I'm so, so proud of her. We have a great relationship, and it's all worked out really well. It really, really has.
She is an incredible human. Honestly, she is. And it's funny because over the 10 years that I've known you, I've always looked at you with so much admiration for your parenting, and you've taught me so much along the way. Going back into those moments, can you remember like the moments where you're laying there on the bed by yourself at night with this baby kicking inside of you, with the world rejecting you by what it sounds like and your decisions? What were you feeling at that time?
Yeah, that probably didn't become apparent until after Adele was born. And then I guess I just went out and continued life with her. I just took her everywhere with me. So I would meet, my friends were at the beach, so I'd go down to the beach and I had this baby in this little baby carrier, and we'd just go along. But my friends were awkward. For me, it was just, okay, I've got this extra addition and she's really cool. So I just kept kind of going places, and I was invited to a barbecue. So I just take her and I'd set up the porta cot, and everyone else around me was very awkward. And my friends wouldn't say too many snarky comments. It was always older people. And then it became more apparent as I went on into my 20s, when she was a little more growing up, 3 or 4 years old, and I started to meet more people, started to get out there a little bit more. I had a boyfriend, so I was meeting a wider group of people, and the comments that would come, especially from females who were slightly older than me, just questioning why I kept my pregnancy, and wow, you look really young to be a mum. I get that all the time, but not in a nice way. And it was really interesting. So certainly that it wasn't just a feeling of rejection, actually being rejected from societal circles, being told that you don't fit in there, being told you don't belong, being told that you're the weirdo because you made a different life decision to other people. On the flip side of that, I also had women come up to me or girls come up to me who would tell me that I was very brave for deciding to follow through with my pregnancy, because of something that they chose not to do in some circumstances, and they'd carried the burden of that throughout their whole life. And I really hold that close to my heart, because I want that part of my life to be an inspiration to people, especially young women. It's amazing when you go out there and you're not what people expect you to be. The feedback you get from that, they either magnetize towards you and want to open up about their story, which I certainly have people do that, or they want to reject what you are because you're not what they expected, and then they want to let you know that. So you attract everything. It's pretty interesting when you go out there as a teenage mum, or as a mum in her early 20s who is a 5-year-old. And of course, my daughter and I, when we go out now, we just have fun with it because we get called sisters all the time. And, guys like to have a lot of fun with that.
So good. So good.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And look, that again shaped me, being on the outside of society was very hurtful because I was used to being liked. I was used to being fairly popular when I was at school, and I make friends easily. So it was really interesting to then lose friends I'd had for a long time purely because they just couldn't make that part of my life work, or I guess they sat in judgment of me as well. And I eventually found the strength to move away from those friends, realizing that those friendships didn't serve me anymore. But that took a lot of strength to do that because I then went through a period of about 3 years of feeling extremely lonely, just so lonely. The only friends I could really attract into my life were guys. Guys were happy to hang out with my daughter and I, and I'd go to barbecues and we'd go drive and wherever and do some fun things, and they would spend time with me. But girlfriends, I really struggled to find girlfriends that would accept me as a mum.
Why do you think it was girls that found it more tricky to hang out with you? Like, what was your feeling back then?
I don't know, and I don't know if I still understand it. Maybe because I was focused, I was on another level of priorities, and my mind was thinking on another level of priorities. I was becoming very serious about planning for mine and my daughter's future. So I was reading, at the age of 21, I decided I needed to be making money and investing because I needed to provide for her future. I just had this drive in me that I wasn't just living my life for me, I was living my life for the next generation, for her. And if anything happened to me, it was very important that her life was set up in a way that she was going to be financially cared for, but also have a family and community around her that really cared for her. So I guess I just was learning different things, and my friends perhaps that I had at the time were much more surface level in the sense that they liked to read their gossipy magazines, and it was Cosmopolitan magazine back then, or watch TV shows, or I just didn't resonate on that level. I wanted to follow people around and ask them what they were investing in and how to make money.
I've got a question for you.
Okay, fire away.
And I love the fact, I just want to stop there for a minute. As a single mum in her early 20s, making such a profound decision and then taking it so seriously like you have, like my hat off. My hat is off to you.
Thank you.
Constantly. People can't see me taking off my hat, but honestly, you have done such a rock star job. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
you've gone on, you've got 4 kids.
Yes. So fast forward 19 years.
Yeah, 19 years. So you've got the 2 girls, 2 boys. Okay. What have you taken into your parenting from what you've done with Adele? And what have you left behind now that you've got Sienna at 2? And I'm not talking about because she's got Down syndrome. Like that.
Yeah.
That aside.
One thing I have taken over is I've realized that time goes very, very quickly. And those days when you're in the thick of it, right now I am in the thick of it because I have a 2-year-old and then a 7 and 10-year-old at home, and the days are tiring. They really are. But because I have the hindsight of having raised a child who went from 4 years old to 20 years old so quickly, I understand that these moments are precious, that these days, yes, they're long and tiring, but the time to lie in bed and snuggle with them is now. Because when they're 15 years old, they don't want you to lie in bed and snuggle with them.
They don't.
When they move out of home, you might not see them for a month or 2 at a time. And when they come back, you just want to hold them and hug them. And then 30 seconds later, they're like, okay, I'm done. So the time to really snuggle them and teach them what you know is when they are young. But unfortunately, it also ties in with when you're tired and you're trying to get life off the ground and you're trying to pay your bills and you're trying to keep fit and you're trying to have a social life as well. So it coincides with all of these things as this big mashup. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I was parenting just Adele to firstly make her proud, but to feel like I was keeping up with the other parents who were actually 20 years ahead of me in the game. I had her at a private school, and a fantastic private school, was awesome. And I was able to afford it, which was a real blessing. But, when you step up into a different environment and then you realize that actually you're on the bottom level of that environment.
You're the ant.
And look, the thing is that
you're the ant only if you allow them to be the ant. If you only allow yourself to be the pet, like, do not give your power away.
Yes,
you know that
absolutely.
Now. You know that
absolutely. Now. And it was none of the parents who ever made me feel awkward in that way. It's just that we would have these jokes. I became really good friends with many of the mums in there, and they would invite me to coffee after we drop off the kids at school. So I got to know them. They were a great group of mothers. And some of their children were a year younger than me, because some of them had spread out families as well. So it was funny. We had lots of laughs about that. But yeah, so realizing that I don't know everything, I was tried to be very, very strong to prove to my daughter that I was strong and I was capable and she had nothing to worry about, and I've got this and I'm going to make life happen for us. But I was so strong that I was probably almost cold in a way. And I don't want to say I regret that, but I've learned from that with my children now, to actually let them know, Mummy's really tired. I'm going to go lie down for 10 minutes. Can you just leave me in peace? I used to feel really guilty about saying that to my children, to show that vulnerable side of myself to them. And maybe for some people that's not very vulnerable, but for me it is, because I want my children to think that I'm the hero in their world. Yeah.
Love that. With navigating adulthood, we both are in that boat. So for those of you who don't know, Ness and I are navigating young adults. So we've both got children in their 20s. They just happen to be best friends too. Like, it's just a pretty cool scenario.
It's a cool scenario. And that's how we met, was because our daughters became best friends. And then my daughter said, you would love Lottie's mum. You're going to become best friends with her. And look, here we are.
I love it. I do. And I still remember the first night I met you. It was pretty cool. But and then we've just done life together. I'm actually going to bring up some photos and put them on socials of you as my bridesmaid at my wedding a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And then, guys, there's this awesome beer drinking one where Ness is just so cool. She's done the guzzle. She's looked up and she's got this moustache of foam across her top lip. She's
a Guinness moustache.
She's all things amazing. But like, with tapping into, like 20-year-old, 21-year-old young adults, what I'm understanding is the relationship changes. And by that, I mean, we become mentors. I sort of feel that, take this the right way, we're like directors of kids when they're young, right? We've got authority. We're 2 steps ahead of them. We know what's right. We know what's wrong. We're parenting. And while we have different ways of coaching our kids through their childhood and adolescent years, that's not what this discussion's about. But what I do say is that we become anchors. We become the sounding board. We become the interjectors of knowledge on issues or different problems, real life grown-up problems that we can't solve for our girls.
Yeah.
And even we want to go in and we want to save because we've been there, but that's not our role anymore. And it's really big to take a step back from parenting when you're used to doing it in a different way with younger kids and going, actually, you now have to make your own choices and you have to live in those choices. Good choices, bad choices, just choices. With the understanding and the hope that the values that we have imparted on our girls as they've grown up are now playing out in their life.
Yeah.
And the framework that we have given them to problem solve and to navigate the big bad world. But I think that's one thing that I have really come to terms with. I'm not quite sure what the right word is really, because I'm navigating, and there's going to be mothers listening to this who are like, I've got 30, 40, 50-year-old kids, but yeah, it's
Tell
just
us everything.
Like, give us your wisdom. It's a new season, navigating our kids in their 20s, don't you think?
Yeah. And how have you found that transition from when your daughter is now in her 20s, so you are needing to respect her as an adult? Like, how do you manage that yourself? Has that been a struggle for you to actually kind of let go?
Yes.
And just tell me about that.
I think I need to stop saying I think. So guys, I'm going to stop. That is my number one goal for 2026, is stop saying I think. So if you ever hear it on the podcast, I need to do a push up for every time I say I think. Yes, okay. Like, so we need to reshape our words.
So Hannah, how have you found that transition of, now that your daughter is in her 20s, she's an adult, you are still her parent, but you're not in that parenting role. That's a big change to let go and let her be. How have you found that? Tell me about that.
It's a really different way of parenting. And like I just said earlier, we become a mentor. So the conversations change. So, for instance, let's talk about finances. I feel it's my responsibility as her mum to teach her how to manage her finances, something that I actually wasn't taught from my parents. I don't think it was spoken about. Maybe it was, it just wasn't in our family. And I knew that we were always comfortable and I'd never go without. But knowing how to manage money, I think, is a really critical element to womanhood. And we have I believe, a moral obligation and duty to teach our kids how to manage their money and how to make money and how to be wise with their money. So Think and Grow Rich, that's certainly a book that I will always advocate for. But The Barefoot Investor, like, it's very simple. Like, obviously investing's part of my background and teaching people how to do that in terms of property stacking, but it's a very layman term book on how to manage your money. So let's talk about your bucket. So I walked that through with her and I got her to read it. And, I was like, you need to buy shares. Like, that's what you can do right now. So you need to buy shares. I know that you've had conversations with her about buying gold or silver. And what I do love about her is she's willing to listen to advice and wisdom and then process it and apply it. There's other decisions where I'm like, girlfriend, like, 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 you're okay. Like, life's not that complicated. You study and you work. We have a cleaner and I do all your washing. Like, you're okay. You're never going to run out of money. So I think it's I think I owe everybody a push up. I believe that our kids need to make decisions and we need not to rescue them.
Yeah.
Because they're not kids.
100%
like, the fact
agree.
that I'm even saying she's a kid, she's 20.
Yeah.
And I was living out of home at 20. I was paying bills. I was studying. I was doing whatever it needed to take to survive. And I need to remember that at 20, like, I was making very grown-up decisions. And she too needs to make her grown-up decisions. And she does it really wisely. She honestly does. But there are moments where I'm just, still navigating the conversation.
It's a lot of
they're old enough to listen to this. I'm all red because I'm like, geez, she listens to our podcast.
I know, exactly. Hi, daughters. So I know you're not going to like this, Hannah, but I'm just going to turn this back around on you for a little bit. Back to when you're 20, because we don't know much about Hannah. What did Hannah look like at 20? Where did you learn your life skills? How were you shaping yourself at 20? Your daughter's 20 now, so if you think back to yourself at 20...
Completely different person. But I like, with 20 to, I'm 44. Like, that's a huge...
You look great at 44.
There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of Botox and there's a lot of learning. But
there's a lot of learning about Botox.
And there's not that much. I'm playing around.
No, that's okay.
There's a little bit of Botox. But let me go back. Instead of starting at 20, I want to go back to when I was 17 because it was a very important season of my life. And the reason I bring that up is because I had, like, deep, dark, suppressed memories of being sexually abused. And I remember it going on, but I never told anyone about it. And a girlfriend at school actually just asked me the question, have you been sexually abused? And I don't know what led her to asking that question, but she did. And it was as simple as that. And it was a flick of a moment, or a flick of a light switch rather. And I had these flashbacks. And it's like I could not run away from what I was seeing inside of my head. And then another one, it was almost like, and I wish I could understand the psychology behind it, something activated in my brain. And all I could think about were these moments that I now started recalling in my head and feeling in my body. And it was a dark journey. I went on antidepressants. I went to counseling. I made myself live through what had happened to me.
Wow.
And I wasn't going to run away from it anymore because I knew back then what you don't change, what you don't acknowledge, you're always going to be bound to it. And I had that understanding, even as a 17-year-old, that I couldn't live in the silence and I couldn't live in the shame anymore. So I remember waking up one morning, and again, this was a very poignant moment in my life, and the alarm went off, and I was listening to Today FM, the morning crew, like you know how you record things so clearly. And I
Yeah.
laid in bed and I just felt something so heavily on my life that I knew that one day my story was going to help somebody else. And it was from that very moment, the age of 17, that my heart was shaped for social justice, that my heart was shaped for supporting women. I didn't know what that looked like. And then I went on overseas to a camp counseling in Arkansas. I went to Little Rock, Arkansas. And I don't know if you can remember the Columbine shootings. And it was a really big shooting, horrific, world news. And it was just devastating. And when I was camp counseling over there, we actually had the survivors of the Columbine shooting, not all of them, but those that were severely impacted. And I'm talking, you could see where a bullet had gone through one of the girls' arms.
Wow.
And not only did I work with the Columbine survivors, I got to work with teenagers from the Bosnia War. And I got to work with disadvantaged kids in America. And that shaped me. So I knew that I needed to come back and study, which is what I did. So I left camp counseling. I came back to Australia and I enrolled in youth work and I started studying youth work. And then I knew that I needed a broader qualification. So I got a social welfare qualification. And from there, I went into child protection. I did my placement in child protection. And I saw the need that there were children who didn't have homes because I was helping remove the kids. And they not displaced, but kind of because there weren't enough foster carers. So I jumped in and I was foster caring at the age of 23. And that was where the beginning of my motherhood journey began, like at the age of 23. In fact, it was earlier than that because I was part of a program called Aunties and Uncles. And I had a little girl and she was 18 months and I would have her as respite. So every second weekend. And then that increased a little bit because I needed to help her mum out, which I was happily doing because I fell in love with this little one.
Yeah.
And then that also shaped me in terms of going into foster caring. So I wasn't out yahooing at 23. I was nursing little 9-month-old babies and looking after foster care kids.
What an incredible story, Han. It's so impactful. I knew snippets of that, but we haven't talked in depth about the timelines there. So correct me if I'm wrong. Were you fostering children before you had children yourself?
Yes.
Beautiful.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I guess I practiced on them. But they were so cute. And it's funny because even with foster babies, you have this raw inside of you, this protectiveness. Because I knew working in child protection that they were there and they were the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And I just had this innate, I will never let anyone touch you or hurt you while you're on my watch. And that's where I became familiar with what I call the kids call it the mama bear. That's where I learned that sits inside of me.
And out of that, is that the experience that you had that really made you empathetic towards mothers and women in particular, or was that a different part of your journey, or was that when you became a mother? Because you really do talk a lot about actually having heart for mothers and having heart for women in particular, empowering them, helping them build their identity and, giving them hope, finding their purpose within themselves and finding that inner lioness and the inner roar and strength. You're very good at speaking into women and mentoring women on that level. When did that roar start to come up inside of you?
It was always sitting there. Like the role that I played for 20 years inside of ministry, like I was married to a pastor for 20 years. And I always say it's a 2-for-1. You always get him, but you always get her as well. She doesn't get paid, but he does. Anyway, different conversation. But it
Different
was
podcast we can open up.
and that was fine because it was a great season of my life. But even in that amount of time, all my energy went into serving women and how can creating nights for women where they can come and they can learn and they can have community and they can walk away empowered or self-discovery. Like, women are beautiful, and I don't believe that women understand the depth of who they are and their uniqueness. I think a lot of us walk around with our eyes closed to who we actually are. And my role, my heart, my passion is to unlock that inside of her and bring value, reinstate value, and reinstate empowerment so she can reach her potential.
I love that. I love that. And look, you've really spoken a lot of life into me and helped draw out of me those bits that I have kept hidden in myself, where I know that I have expertise or potential and just have sat behind an invisible shadow. But you have forced me to bring that to the forefront and say, no, you've got more to give. What more have you got? What more have you got? And you've helped push me out of my shell a lot in the last year, which I'm truly grateful for. Well, really over the 10 years that we've been friends as well. And it's interesting that you say that about women. In your opinion, do you think it's because women often, we do have a servant heart in general? I know most mums that I know, they serve their children, serve their family, serve their husbands, serve their church, serve their jobs even. We do have a servant heart, and sometimes we can go so caught up in actually serving that season of life that we're in that we do lose our identity. Is that a common scenario that you see?
We are applauded when we hold responsibility well. We are applauded by frameworks when we don't ask for help. And I think there is a silent epidemic where women are carrying invisible loads or an invisible load. And because we often are applauded for the wrong things, we then fail to ask for help, or we see it as weakness.
It is what we are applauded for, as being strong. And the more people say you're such a strong woman, then you feel like you need to be a strong woman. I want to know from you, because these are the conversations that we actually have on the phone all the time. So it's great to have the microphone on with these. What is your definition of a strong woman, or how would you describe strength of character in a woman?
That she shows up to her true self unapologetically.
Beautiful.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
She's the one that doesn't need to compare herself. She's the one that is at ease because she knows who she is. She understands her value and she's not seeking it externally. I truly believe a woman who is at ease with herself is the most beautiful type of woman.
Agreed. Do you think it takes a certain amount of time to get to that point of acceptance as a woman? Obviously, some reach that point earlier. We are all shaped by our life path. What was your point of reaching that conclusion for yourself, where you went, this is what a strong woman is, and this is what I need to be or want to be, or I'm there now?
I would love to say I have arrived, but there are definitely areas of my life where I know that I still got a lot of growth to do. What does it look like to have goals and dreams and aspirations and to pursue them with might, regardless? It could be going to the gym 3 days a week. It doesn't have to be big goals. How do we not allow that to cross over into identity? How do we know that the goals that we are setting have got nothing to do with identity?
Well, it's interesting because one challenge I guess I ask myself occasionally is if the goals I'm setting are purely for myself or to prove something to someone else.
Oh, that is fantastic. Yes, of course.
Maybe that's just a me thing, but I feel like it's a any woman thing.
Yes. So when
You know,
when you're not having to prove yourself for that
yes,
goal, whatever that goal is. I'm losing weight for me. I'm
yeah,
becoming healthier for me. I'm
yes,
getting a career, what's it called, a promotion for me, not to prove it or
yeah,
prove myself or prove my worth to others. Is that what you mean?
yeah, absolutely.
I love
Because it's
that.
very easy to put ourselves under that weight of we think that we're setting these goals or our vision board. Is it really for what we want? If no one else, if you couldn't show the pictures of your achievements to anyone else, or you weren't sharing any of it, would you still be aiming for those same goals or life achievements or plans? And it's a big challenge, but that's something that has been challenging me lately. If I just didn't tell anyone what I was doing, would I still make the same daily decisions? Would I have the same habits in place to get me towards my goals? Or am I actually doing that? And maybe there's a good part of aiming to achieve something in life or unlocking the next level. Yes, it may be to prove something to someone else, but maybe you just need that personal growth within yourself. You know, why do I choose to read books so regularly? Probably because I like to increase my intelligence. So when I talk to someone, I have something to talk about because I'm in the house all day with children. And as much as I absolutely love them, it's not always stimulating conversation talking with a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, boys. I mean, there's a lot of toilet talk in there. So for me, I want to fuel my mind by listening to podcasts and reading books so that I'm relevant and can have conversations with people that aren't just about children.
Mm.
So I am probably have those goals in place in order to seem more interesting to other people. I don't feel pressured by that, but it does incentivize me. So
Yeah,
there's a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but it's an interesting question to unpack.
I love that.
Maybe it helps someone on there.
Do you know what I love about this? We haven't even got to any other questions that we had from our
We haven't even
listeners. So
looked at
we
our
are
list
going
yet.
to, we have not forgotten you, but I'm very conscious of our
Wow.
podcast length.
Yeah, my questions are all pretty deep dive, which we've done plenty of. I just really wanted our audience. We've got an awesome audience that is growing, and we love having you guys and girls here, girls of course, but we have some dads following us as well. And I have been talking with a couple of dads, I guess, because you talk to mums and dads.
We love our dads.
We love our dads, and they've been listening to our podcast. They have been getting sending it through to their wives, saying, my wife really needs to listen to this, or my sister needs to listen to this, which is really cool. But we have a growing community here, and Hannah and I just thought it would be a great time for us to jump in and introduce ourselves so that you can know a bit of our backstory. And you've learned a lot so far. We're deep divers, and if you're new here, we do go deep, and we go deep quickly. But we're also a lot of fun, and we have a lot of laughs, and that's why Hannah and I we talk for hours off camera.
Okay, guys, we are going to stop it there. We've literally just lost Nessie. Thank you for tuning in. Now, if this conversation has struck a nerve because we did speak of some very deep topics today, then please reach out to, anybody, especially a professional, if you need help in any, or someone to talk to. It's not even help, somebody to talk to. We love having you a part of our community. Please feel free to always send us a DM and we'll get back to you. We love you guys. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and we'll see you next week.